standing at the edge of the ballroom stage, my father's brass coin hot in my fist, when the spotlight hits my stepmother's diamonds. "You're worthless," she laughs in my ear, loud enough for the nearest table to hear, as cameras pop like distant gunfire. Heat climbs my throat. The coin's ridged edge bites my palm. If she's right, tonight I disappear quietly into her shadow. But my fiancé's eyes find mine across the room, and something in his face says he knows a different number for my worth. The word hangs there, worthless, stretching across the marble and glass. The chandeliers throw fractured light over Vivian's bare shoulders and the crowd below us, all sequins and satin and raised champagne. The charity's logo glows behind us on the giant screen in my father's handwriting. It makes my stomach flip. It looks like she owns his name now, too. Her laugh trails off into a satisfied little hum. She leans forward to angle her face toward the photographers. "Chin up, darling," she murmurs, teeth still bared in a smile. "If you slouch, people will notice you." The cameras crack again. The flashes hit my eyes so hard the room strobes. I blink through the white spots and find Leo. He's by the podium, shoulders squared in his tux, speech cards in one hand. An ugly, plain manila folder tucked under his arm like it snuck into the gala by mistake. When our eyes lock, he taps 2 fingers against the folder. 1, 2. A quiet, deliberate rhythm. My fist tightens around the coin in answer. Vivian's fingers clamp down on my elbow. Her nails are polished a tasteful nude that does nothing to soften the pinch. "Smile," she stage whispers, lips barely moving. "You're lucky I let you stand up here. Do not look like you're about to cry." She steers me a step backward, out of the clean circle of the spotlight, into the half shadow by the curtain. Her body shifts so her sequined bodice is what the gala photographer frames, not my face. I can smell her perfume from here, white flowers and something sharp underneath, like alcohol. I roll the coin between my fingers, feeling the worn groove where my father's thumb lived. The metal is warm from my skin, edges familiar, weight steady. He pressed it into my hand at the kitchen table the week before his surgery. Coffee steam, pill bottles, the faint bitter smell of hospital paperwork. "You'll always know your own value," he said, closing my fingers around it like he was sealing the words in. "Don't let anyone mark you down on clearance." Vivian laughs now, high and bright, at some joke I didn't hear. The sound collides with the memory and makes my chest tighten. A microphone squeals somewhere, a quick feedback whine that snaps the room to attention. Our MC walks onto the stage, clutching his cue cards. He beams that generic gala smile at the crowd, the one trained to look genuine in any lighting. "Ladies and gentlemen," he calls, his voice booming from the speakers overhead. "Thank you for joining us tonight at the annual Michael Danner Foundation Gala." My father's name gets a polite wave of applause. Beside me, Vivian floats another perfectly timed laugh toward the front tables. The MC continues. "In just a few moments, we'll hear from someone very special. A man who has seen, up close, the impact of this foundation, and who is here to honor our visionary leader, Ms. Vivian Danner, for decades of integrity and service." "Decades," she whispers, satisfied. "Make sure you clap on that word." My throat goes dry. Integrity sticks in my ears like a wrong note. Leo glances at the MC, then out at the crowd. His profile is all calm lines from here, but I know the tiny tell at the corner of his mouth when he's bracing for impact. He shifts the manila folder higher on his arm. The paper inside slides with a soft, papery hush. I hear even over the clink of glassware and the rustle of gowns. I know what's in that folder. Not all of it, not every page, but enough to feel the shape. Bank statements, spreadsheets, things that hummed under my fingertips in his tiny living room when he showed me the first transfer I couldn't explain. A waiter slips past the front of the stage, tray steady. The scent of roasted meat and rosemary floats up, mixing with perfume and the faint ozone smell of hot lights. Near the back wall, by the AV booth, the motion is different. Most of the staff hover with notepads, headsets, wine bottles. Their movements are quick and practiced. But there's a woman in a dark blazer, no wine glass, no tray, no logo pin on her lapel. She's just standing there. Her hair is pulled back, no glitter, no neckline. She watches the stage with an attention that feels heavier than curiosity. Our eyes don't quite meet, but when the MC says integrity, her jaw flexes once. My fingers slide over the coin again. The ridges bite into the pads of my fingers, a tiny, insistent reminder that I'm not just a decorative relative up here. The metal clicks softly against my ring when I shift it. That sound, small as it is, anchors me more than the whole marble floor. Vivian lifts her hand in a little royal wave as the applause swells again. "Remember," she murmurs, teeth still shining for the cameras. "No dramatics. This is bigger than you. Bigger than you." The logo behind us cycles into a slow slideshow of smiling children with backpacks, bookmobiles, new libraries. Donors soften. A few dab their eyes. No one sees the way Vivian's manicure digs another crescent into my skin. I swallow hard. My voice feels trapped under my tongue. Leo steps closer to the steps of the stage, waiting for his cue. He glances at me again, just for a heartbeat, and something in his gaze is a question. "Are you still with me?" I exhale, slow. The air tastes like dust and champagne bubbles. I lift my chin the slightest fraction. Vivian mistakes it for compliance and pats my arm, all false affection. "Good girl," she whispers. The coin is a hot circle in my palm now. I can feel my pulse beating against the metal. Down by the AV booth, a red light on one of the cameras switches from standby to live. It's a tiny change, just a dot shifting from dull to bright. But once I see it, I can't unsee it. The dark blazer woman nods once toward the camera operator. He adjusts his angle, points the lens squarely at the stage, at us, at Vivian. The MC turns, hand outstretched toward Leo. "And now," he announces, "please welcome Leo Hart, who will share a few words about the incredible work being done under Vivian's leadership." Applause swells again, polite and expectant. Cutlery pauses midair, chairs creak as people twist for a better view. Leo mounts the stairs with measured steps, each one solid on the risers. The microphone catches the soft brush of his shoe on the carpet. He reaches the podium and rests his speech cards in front of him. The manila folder stays beneath his arm, heavy and ordinary and completely out of place in a room full of crystal and gold. He adjusts the mic. A small pop echoes through the speakers. "Thank you," he begins, voice even. "It's an honor to be here tonight." Vivian glows beside me, soaking it in. I feel the coin press into my lifeline, a line of heat drawn across my palm. And for the first time all evening, I let myself imagine what happens if tonight is not about her at all. The thought is so strange it knocks me sideways. The string quartet's melody blurs at the edges. The bow strokes turn into clinks of ice in a glass. The ballroom's crystal light smears into the yellowish glow of the kitchen in our old house, the cheap overhead fixture humming above a chipped formica table. My dad stands at the sink, sleeves rolled, rinsing out a pitcher. It's summer humid, the window fogged a little at the corners. I'm still in my middle school band shirt, sweating from practice. He clears his throat. "Kiddo," he calls, like he's rehearsed the word. "Come meet someone." I round the corner, and the first thing that hits me is scent. Vivian's perfume is expensive the way a locked car is expensive. It's too big for the small kitchen, all jasmine and something powdery. And it slides over the smell of dish soap and Dad's coffee, like a new rule laid on top of the old ones. She wears a dress you don't sit on our furniture in. Her smile is bright and precise. "You must be Mara," she says. "I have heard so much about you." I remember the way her bracelets chimed when she reached out. The faint click, metal on metal, as she adjusted them before offering her hand like a queen, waiting to be kissed. I shook it, my palm damp, my socks sticking to the linoleum. The fridge kicked on with a low hum behind us. Dad beamed, nervous and proud. "She's something special," he said. "Smart as a whip." Back then, I believed that was a fixed fact, like gravity. In the beginning, Vivian played along. There were gifts. A sleek new backpack for a future CEO. A designer pen set for all those A+ essays. She leaned down in my doorway, perfume first, and said things like, "You're going to go so far, darling." When she laughed, it was soft, encouraging. The first crack was so tiny I barely felt it. I brought home a B- in math, the red pen circling careless errors at the top of the test. Dad put it on the fridge anyway. "Next time it's an A," he said, tapping the paper with a magnet. "But you tried. I'm proud." Vivian waited until he went outside to take a call about the foundation. The screen door creaked shut behind him. Then she tilted her head at the paper and clicked her tongue. "Smart as a whip," she murmured. Maybe he meant a wet noodle. She smiled like it was a joke. It lodged under my ribs. It kept happening. Little comments slid into the space between us when Dad wasn't looking. "Those jeans aren't flattering, sweetheart. You don't want people thinking you've let yourself go. Maybe cut back on seconds. Cameras are not kind to fuller faces. College applications are brutal these days. They want Top tier. Always said with a laugh, a touch, a soft, "I'm only telling you because I care." If I flinched, she would pat my hand. "You're so sensitive. Toughen up, it's a rough world out there." Oversensitive became the new nickname. At dinner, when Dad asked how my day was, I'd feel her look slide over me like a scanner, quietly calculating what I was worth. The coin didn't exist yet. That came later, in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and canned air. Machines beeped in slow, bored rhythms. Dad's skin looked too thin for his bones. He pressed the coin into my hand while a nurse checked his IV. The metal was small, heavy, pleasantly cool at first. "First toolbox," he said, voice scratchy. "Bought it with this. Built my first real thing with those tools. Felt like I could make a whole life out of it." The monitors beeped in the background, steady but tired. "Keep it," he told me. "You'll always know your own value. Promise me that." "I promise," I said, fingers closing around it. I didn't know yet how much pressure that promise would take. After his surgery, after the complication, after the funeral where everyone said visionary and legacy and gone too soon until the words went numb, Vivian stepped into the empty spaces. She took the head seat at the boardroom table, the one that still smelled faintly like his cologne and pencil shavings. "To honor him," she said, hand on her heart, "I'll keep the foundation running." The directors nodded. Donors sent flowers. Someone updated the website with her headshot. I sat at the end of the table with a lukewarm coffee in front of me, the coin in my pocket warm against my leg. The first year, they let me come to all the board meetings. I didn't talk much, but I listened. I watched line items crawl across projectors, watched numbers march down spreadsheets. When I leaned toward Vivian once and whispered, "Why did the scholarship budget go down this quarter when donations went up?" She gave my knee a little squeeze under the table. "Trust the process," she said, through her teeth, smiling at the room. "Timing." The next quarter, there was no need for me at the board meetings. "Too heavy for you," she said, her voice syrupy, handing me a coat check sheet. "You'd be bored. Help with the guests instead. You're so good with people." Downstairs, the coat room smelled like wet wool and perfume. I hung coats on numbered hooks, while muffled applause drifted through the vents. Upstairs, decisions were being made with my father's name on the letterhead. I flipped the coin between my fingers under the coat room counter, the metal clicking softly against my nails, my small private metronome. Times I asked about the scholarships, I was told the same thing. Accounting timing, cash flow quirks. "You wouldn't understand, sweetheart. It's complicated." One night, after a gala like this, but smaller, with fewer chandeliers and more folding chairs, I went back to the house to drop off some files. The study door was almost closed. Light dragged in a narrow strip across the hallway carpet. I heard Vivian's voice before I saw her. "She's useful," she was saying, laughing. "A built-in alibi. The board loves the devoted daughter narrative." A pause. Ice clinked in a glass. "The girl's too stupid to read a balance sheet anyway." The words landed so hard I had to put my hand on the wall. The coin in my pocket felt like it had caught fire. I stood there in the dim hallway, palm pressed to wood, ear to the crack of light, while she kept talking about reallocations and consulting fees, and nobody checks the details. My face burned, my chest ached, but the ache felt separate, like the humiliation was trying to drown me and something else was learning how to float. Too stupid to read a balance sheet. The house was quiet except for her laughter and the faint ticking of the hallway clock. The smell of her perfume seeped under the door, mixing with the old paper and dust smell of Dad's books. I closed my fingers around the coin so hard the ridges dented my skin. In that hallway, in that half-light, I decided two things. One, I was going to learn exactly how to read every line on every sheet she thought I couldn't understand. Two, if she was stealing in his name, I was not going to be the alibi she bragged about into her ice. The promise felt like signing something. No witnesses, just the clock and the coin and my own breath. On stage now in the ballroom, Leo shifts his weight at the podium. The microphone catches the faint scratch of his card against the wood. My mind snaps back into my body. I can still taste the hallway dust, but I can also feel the present. The heat of the lights, the sweat prickling at the back of my neck, the smooth burn of metal in my palm. Vivian stands just in front of me, spine straight, chin high, ready to be worshipped. She has no idea that the girl she called stupid has spent nights hunched over printouts with a highlighter and a calculator, tracing money like a detective traces footprints. Leo clears his throat. "Most of you know this foundation by its story," he says, voice steady. "But tonight, I want to talk about the numbers behind that story. My pulse kicks, because for the first time, in a very public room, the balance sheet she never wanted me to read is about to be held up to the light. Leo insists we can't just confront Vivian privately. He talks about evidence chains, regulators, and how someone has been using my name as a human shield. And I keep hearing Vivian's voice telling board members I'm too naive for leadership. The word naive sits in the room like a third person. Leo's apartment smells like coffee grounds and printer ink. The little laser printer on his side table wheezes and spits out another sheet, the paper curling on top of the growing stack. The only light is a floor lamp and the blue glow from his laptop, painting everything in late-night colors. I drag the coin back toward me across the edge of the coffee table. The metal makes a soft tap against the wood. It sounds too loud in my ears. What do you mean, evidence chains? I ask. My voice comes out thinner than I want. He doesn't answer right away. He lines up the printed pages into a neat pile. Top edges straight, thumbs smoothing the corners like he's shuffling a fragile deck. Highlighted lines glow neon under the lamp. Vendor names, transfer amounts, dates that match galas and fundraisers. Okay, he says finally, start with this. He slides the top page toward me. The paper rasp is a small, dry sound. It's a disbursement report I recognize from our internal system. General ledger codes, project numbers, my own name in small, tidy font in the approved by column. He taps one line with his pen. Look at the vendor, he says. Brightside Consulting LLC, I read. They helped with branding, I think? He shakes his head. They don't have a website, he says. The address is a mailbox at a strip mall 2 counties over. He clicks his mouse, and a browser window on the laptop throws a bright panel of white into the room. A map, a blurry street view of a faded storefront with a nail salon and a payday loan place. No office, no staff. The LLC was formed 6 months before this payment, he continues. Registered agent matches a holding company that shows up here. He flips to another page. More highlights, different name, same address, same pattern. My eyes track the numbers, up and down, like a heartbeat gone wrong. And that's bad because I trail off. I know it's bad. I need to hear him say it. Because real vendors leave trails, he says. Websites, LinkedIn profiles, invoices that match services. If you see a cluster of companies with no footprint, getting paid just under the amount that would trigger an automatic review, he looks at me. That's a pattern. The coin under my thumb is warm now, the ridges biting into the padding of my finger. But we hired consultants, I argue weakly. Branding, impact reports, all that. Vivian always said we needed to look competitive to keep up donations. He nods, but it's not agreement. It's patient. I'm sure you did hire some legitimate firms, he says. These, though, they're not them. He reaches into the manila folder I watched him label earlier with black marker. Foundation, initial review. He pulls out a printout where my name appears over and over. Approved by Mara Danner. The room tilts a little. I didn't sign these, I say. I hear the panic in my own voice. I didn't even see half of these invoices. I'm only copied on final reports, not raw transfers. I know, he says. He swipes to another screen. A cropped screenshot of our internal approval system fills the laptop display. My full name, my login ID, a tiny digital signature that looks like mine and also not. Your credentials were used, he says, keeping his voice even. But see this. He points to a line of tiny text at the bottom of the screen. Device ID, IP address, location stamp. I squint. My heart thuds in my ears. This isn't the office, I whisper. He shakes his head. No, this is from her house. Her house. The word makes my stomach flip. The system logs only tag general locations, but the neighborhood name is unmistakable. How do you even know how to pull this, I ask. He leans back in his chair for the first time in hours, rubs at his eyes with the heel of his hand. Financial crimes is mostly pattern recognition and paperwork, he says. But the tools are the same whether I'm working a shell game at a small bank or a charity that forgot who it exists for. He looks at me over his knuckles. Somebody used your login as cover, he says quietly. Probably from a remembered password on a device you were signed into once. Maybe a time you left a laptop at the house. Maybe she had IT fix something and they turned off your multi-factor without telling you. It's lazy and arrogant, but not stupid. I think about the afternoon I left my work laptop in the study because Vivian insisted we have a tech-free family dinner. I remember the way she smiled when she said it. Warm, firm, non-negotiable. My mouth goes dry. So, what, she just clicked approve on things in my name? Not just her, he says. Could be someone she trusts, an assistant, an outside accountant. But the beneficiary names repeat. The timing lines up. This isn't an accident. I press the coin into my palm until the edge hurts. What if I am just misunderstanding, I ask. What if this is some weird accounting thing, timing, like she always says? He doesn't rush to answer. He stacks the pages again, smoothing them with a practiced motion. The way you'd handle documents you might need to present to someone who matters. An auditor. A judge. Misunderstandings don't require forged signatures, he says finally. And they don't funnel money through shells that lead back to the same handful of people. He reaches for a yellow legal pad and flips it open. Names and arrows run down the first page. Look, he says, pen tapping. Donor money leaves the foundation account here. It passes through Brightside. It lands here. He circles a generic-sounding holding company. Then he writes a last name next to it. Vivian's maiden name. The room goes very quiet. The distant hum of his fridge fills the silence. A car passes in the street 3 floors below, tires hissing on wet asphalt. Say it, I whisper, please. He meets my eyes. This is fraud, he says, at minimum. And if she's signing your name, that brings you into it whether you meant to be in it or not. The coin jumps in my hand as my fingers jerk. It clinks once against my mug on the table. I could go to jail, I say? He shakes his head fast. Not if we're proactive, he says. Not if we bring this to the right people before it blows up. That's why I'm talking about evidence chains and regulators, and not about you having a screaming match in her kitchen. I laugh. It comes out ugly, too high. Regulators, I repeat. Like, who? The IRS? The Attorney General? Some faceless office that files this under interesting and forgets me exist? State charitable enforcement, he says. They exist for exactly this. But they won't touch a tip that's just, my stepmom is mean, and I feel weird about the books. They need documentation, context, clean copies. He taps the manila folder. We start here. We print only what we need. We save untouched originals on a separate drive. We make a checklist. He's already writing it down. Item 1, preserve source files. Item 2, export complete transaction history for questionable vendors. Item 3, document access logs and device IDs. Item 4, record chain of custody for every file we move. The words march down the page in his sharp, compact handwriting. Chain of custody. I have never heard that phrase outside of crime shows. This is my family, I say. My father's name. Her lawyers will destroy me. He sets the pen down. The click of plastic on wood is soft but final. Mara, he says, right now she's using your login to destroy you slowly and quietly. The difference is, no one can see that yet. He reaches for my hand, carefully, like I'm made of glass and explosives. His fingers brush the coin in my palm before curling around my wrist. Bringing this forward isn't betrayal, he says. It's a confession. I saw something and I chose not to look away. But I can't make you do it. You have to decide if you're going to keep letting her write your role in this story. My heart pounds so hard I can feel it in my throat. I look down at the list, at my forged name on the screen, at the arrows that lead from Brightside to a company with Vivian's maiden name plastered over it like a watermark. In my head, I hear her voice again. She's too stupid to read a balance sheet anyway. I curl my fingers tighter around the coin until the edges bite deep, until pain cuts through the fog and leaves only one clear thought. I want to see everything, I say. My voice sounds strange, steadier than I feel. Every vendor, every log, every place my name shows up. He exhales, a slow breath I realize he's been holding. Okay, he says. Then tomorrow I'll make a call to someone who can do more than listen. Tonight, we build the file they'll need. He reaches for a fresh folder, pulls a label from the little plastic dispenser on his desk, and writes in block letters, Mara, working copy. The label's adhesive peels with a quiet tear. He smooths it onto the cardboard with his thumb. I slide the coin into my pocket, feeling the weight settle against my leg like a new kind of gravity, and sit forward into the lamp's circle of light, knowing that once we start filling that folder, there is no version of my life where this stays just a family problem. We stay up until the printer coughs in protest, and the neighbor's baby starts crying through the thin wall. Leo moves like he's in a drill he's done 100 times before. Organize, label, Cross-check. I move like someone trying to learn the choreography as the music plays. By the time the sun starts to gray the edges of his blinds, there is a binder on the table with a temporary sticky note spine. Danner Foundation, Anomalies. Next to it, an external drive the size of a matchbox blinks a tiny blue light. Encrypted with a passphrase only you know, Leo says, pushing it toward me. You give it to them when you're ready, not before. Them, I repeat. The word feels big, official. State charitable enforcement, he says. Our version of the grown-ups. My stomach flips. The office is smaller than I expect. A week later, after background emails and a careful phone call from a blocked number, we stand in front of a frosted glass door on the 12th floor of a government building that smells like stale coffee and overworked air conditioning. The plaque reads, Charitable Organizations and Public Trust Unit. The font is too cheerful for what my heart is doing. Inside, the waiting area has gray chairs, a plant that gave up months ago, and a vending machine humming in the corner. A copier somewhere behind the cubicle wall beeps in a long, annoyed tone until someone slaps it quiet. I have the coin tucked up into my sleeve so I can press my thumb against it without anyone seeing. The metal is cool at first, then warms under my pulse. A woman in a navy blazer appears at the doorway, no-nonsense haircut, no jewelry besides a thin wedding band. A lanyard badge swings at her chest. Mara, she asks. Leo. Her voice is steady, not unkind. Yes, Leo says, standing. Thanks for meeting with us, investigator. Elena Torres, she says, offering her hand. Her grip is firm, exactly one shake, then done. Come back. We follow her through a maze of low cubicles. People glance up from monitors, then back down. On one desk, a stack of donation envelopes spills out of a file. On another, a coffee cup has left a permanent ring on a budget printout. Her office is small and brutally tidy. Metal filing cabinets, a desk with nothing extra on it. Blinds half open to a view of a parking garage. The air smells like printer ink and the ghost of someone's microwaved lunch. Please, sit, she says. And just for the record, I appreciate you coming in before this hit a crisis. Most people don't. Crisis. The word makes my throat go dry. Leo sets the binder on her desk with both hands, like he's placing something fragile. The label is no longer a sticky note. He made a clean spine at home, printed, trimmed, slid under plastic. Next to it, he lays the external drive. Hard copies and digital, he says. We kept a list of where every file came from, original directories, download times. No edits to the source documents. He slides a single sheet on top, a typed index, chain of custody, in miniature. Elena reads the top line, then looks at me. You're Mara, she says. You work at the foundation named in these records. Yes, I say. Officially, I'm Events and Outreach. Unofficially, she asks. Unofficially, I'm whatever my stepmother needs, I say, before I can stop myself. Her mouth quirks, not quite a smile. Okay, she says. She clicks a pen, opens a legal pad, writes my name at the top. Neat block letters. Let's start simple. Who has authority to approve outgoing transfers above $10,000? Technically, the executive director and board chair, I say. That's Vivian and Mr. Klein. And you? My login has approval rights as program manager on smaller grants, I say. But those were supposed to be limited and dual-signed for anything big. For optics, mostly. She nods. And who has access to your credentials? No one, I say automatically. Then I remember the night at the house, the tech-free dinner. My laptop sitting in the study with my screensaver, bouncing my father's foundation logo around like a trapped moth. I've left my laptop there before, I admit. Her assistant has my work email for scheduling. It once reset my multi-factor when Vivian complained it was inconveniencing her sign-offs. Elena's pen pauses on the page. Inconveniencing her, she repeats. Not you. Right, I say. She asks about passwords, vendor setup, who enters new payees into the system, who reconciles the accounts. Each question is calm, precise, like she's checking boxes on an invisible form. Each answer sharpens Vivian's silhouette in my mind. The late-night phone calls, the sneer in her voice when she said nobody checks the details. When Elena flips open the binder, the sound of the rings snapping apart makes me jump. She reads the first page, then the second. Her finger traces a yellow highlighted transfer. Brightside Consulting, she murmurs. You have any idea who this really is? Leo swivels his laptop around, screen waking with a small chime. He's already pulled up the shell company structure, The cross-referenced addresses. We traced it to a holding company tied to her maiden name, he says. We also pulled the entity filings from the Secretary of State's site. The dates line up with the first missing scholarship funds. He's in full professional mode now. I can hear it in the cadence. Clear, factual, no adjectives. Elena takes the drive, turns it over in her hand. The blue light blinks once, twice. Passphrase, she asks. I swallow. My sleeve slips back just enough that my thumb finds the coin again. I give it to her. 6 words only my father and I ever used in a game we played when I was a kid. For the first time, I speak them in a context that involves government property forms. She writes them on a small sticky note, tucks it into a manila evidence envelope, then catches my eye. This goes into our secure system, she says. We log who accesses it and when. You may see it again as an exhibit if this goes to court. You did the right thing bringing it. The right thing, I echo. The phrase doesn't sit easily yet. She leans back, pen tapping once against the pad. Here's what I can tell you at this stage, she says. Based on what I see, we're looking at a pattern of siphoning donor funds through sham consulting entities. The fact that approvals appear under your credentials without your knowledge, combined with the shell structure, gives us probable cause to open a formal investigation. Probable cause, investigation, words from TV shows, not from my life. And then she adds one more. You are a victim in this, she says. Of fraud and likely identity misuse. I almost choke. Victim. I've been the screw-up, the charity case, the too sensitive one. The embarrassment, never the victim. That word belongs to other people. People in news stories. People Vivian raises money for on stages like the one at the Gala. I signed up to work there, I say weakly. I sat in those meetings. I should have. You raised concerns, Elena cuts in, calm but firm. You were shut out. You came here. That's the story I'm hearing. The coin is hot now, a small sun in my sleeve. She turns a page on the legal pad. Clean sheet. Talk to me about upcoming events, she says. Anything high profile. The Gala, I say. My voice steadies a little because this is familiar ground. Our biggest of the year, embassy ballroom, press, donors. Vivian will be front and center. My fiancé is scheduled to give a speech honoring her. When? 6 weeks, Leo answers. We have time to plan. Elena nods slowly. I can see gears turning. A gala is a controlled environment, she says. Guest list, security, cameras. If we coordinate with local law enforcement, and if your board chair is willing to cooperate, it could be an ideal moment to confront her with the facts while minimizing collateral damage. The phrase controlled environment makes me think of lab rats, of Vivian under glass, scrambling for a story as the numbers she thought were invisible light up on a screen behind her. What does confront look like, I ask. Are you talking about arresting her in front of everyone? Arrest is a law enforcement call, Elena says. What I'm proposing is exposure with safeguards. We give your board chair a briefing. We vet any public statements in advance. Your fiancé's speech could be retooled to present the discrepancies as questions we, as regulators, are already exploring. Leo nods, already mentally redlining his draft. I can structure it around the documents, he says. Timeline, vendor anomalies, without saying the word fraud. Just facts we've verified. You and your team approve every line. Elena's pen moves. Vet speech language. Confirm officer presence. Coordinate with board. Evidence visuals. I watch the list grow. It's like Leo's checklist in his living room. But this one comes with the weight of the seal on the wall behind her. Will she see this coming, I ask. Maybe, Elena says. People who get away with this for a while start to believe they're untouchable. They get sloppy. They also get paranoid. But she doesn't know you're here, and she doesn't know we're watching her vendors already. She flips the binder closed with a decisive thump. Here's my question for you, Mara, she says. If we move forward with this plan, it ends with you on that stage when the truth lands. Cameras, donors, your stepmother. Are you prepared to stand there? The HVAC kicks on overhead, sending a soft rush of cold air over the back of my neck. The fluorescent light buzzes faintly. I press my thumb into the coin until the metal refuses to give. In my mind, I see Vivian at the last gala, lifting a champagne glass while a donor called her saintly. I hear her laugh when she said I was too stupid to read a balance sheet. I picture Leo's clean, factual slides lighting up behind her face. I don't know if I'm prepared, I say, voice low. But I'm willing. Elena studies me for a long beat, then nods once. Sometimes that's the better word, she says. My office will start the paperwork today. You'll hear from us with next steps. In the meantime, do not tip your hand. No confrontations, no threats. Let us do the digging. We stand. Papers shuffle. The chair legs scrape on cheap carpet. She seals the drive in an evidence envelope, signs across the flap, hands it to an assistant with instructions I only half hear. Out in the hallway, Leo presses the elevator button. It lights up with a soft ding. Breathe, he murmurs. I do. The air tastes like old coffee and something new, like whatever lives between terror and relief when your private humiliation is about to become someone else's public problem. The elevator doors slide open with a mechanical sigh, and as we step in, my phone buzzes in my bag. A message from Vivian flashes across the screen. Need your help with Gala seating chart. Try not to mess this one up. The coin is a hot circle against my skin. For the first time, I look at one of her orders and think, you have no idea what we're setting that stage for. I type back, sure, happy to help, and hit send before I can lace it with the fury it deserves. The weeks between that elevator ride and the gala smear into a grind of emails, late-night spreadsheets, and quiet calls from blocked numbers. The day-by-day reality is less like a movie montage and more like being sanded down, slow, one pass at a time. By the time Gala week hits, Vivian can sense something. She just doesn't know what. Try this one, she says, holding a dress up to my shoulders in her walk-in closet. The closet smells like cedar and her perfume, rows of gowns sleeping in plastic sheaths. Light glows soft and golden from recessed fixtures. The dress she's chosen is a deep green silk, more expensive than anything I've ever owned. It'll photograph better than that little thing you bought, she says. You're on stage this year. You represent us. Us. The coin is in my pocket, dragging the fabric down on one side. I press it with my thumb and feel the reassuring bite of the ridges through the silk. Are you sure? I ask. I don't want to overstep. She laughs, low and warm. Overstep? She echoes. Darling, you couldn't overstep if you tried. Besides, it's my dress. Consider it. Alone. She turns me toward the full-length mirror, her hands on my shoulders. Up close, I can see the faint lines at the corners of her mouth, the careful work of her lipstick. When donors compliment you, she says, watching my reflection, you say, I'm just proud to be part of my father's vision and to support the work Vivian has done to keep it alive. She nods at my mirrored mouth. Go on, try it. My throat tightens. I'm just proud to be part of my father's vision, I repeat, the words like pins in my tongue, and to support the work Vivian has done to keep it alive. Her fingers squeeze. Good, she says. You finally sound grateful. Her phone buzzes on the vanity. A string of preview texts lights up the screen. Florist, AV tech, caterer. She moves away to answer, already barking about uplights and canapé counts. I'm left staring at myself in her mirror, swallowed in green. The coin a hidden weight over my hip. Downstairs, the house fills with vendors. She's everywhere, living room, dining room, kitchen, trailed by people holding swatch books and tablets. No, the hydrangeas look cheap under ballroom light, she says, flipping through photos. We're going with calla lilies, and not that tablecloth. That tablecloth looks like a tax audit. They laugh? They always laugh. I stand by the kitchen island with the seating chart, watching names and table numbers slide across the screen as she dictates. Donors at the front, press at an angle, board clustered like a shield around her name. And put Mara at the family table, she adds, almost as an afterthought. We can't have our in-house charity case floating. The caterer snorts. The florist covers a smile. Just kidding, she says, patting my arm. Mostly. Heat crawls up my neck. I keep my face neutral, the way I've learned to, and slide a donor couple's name down one cell to make room. The coin presses into my side when I lean over the tablet. The worst part is how easy it still is for the room to follow her cue. How much less work it is to laugh than to let the moment fall dead between us. At night, I meet Leo in public places, cafes. A park bench near the courthouse. Never the same place twice. He's careful now, almost too careful. The AG's office is in the loop, he says one afternoon, stirring a coffee he doesn't drink. Elena's team has opened a formal file. Certain board members have been briefed. Certain, I ask? Which ones? He hesitates. The spoon clinks against ceramic. I can't tell you that, he says. Not yet. Something flares in my chest. Can't, I repeat, or won't? He looks up, surprised by the edge in my voice. This isn't about keeping you in the dark, he says slowly. It's about not tainting the process. If you confront the wrong person with too much detail, they tip Vivian off. She starts shredding, moving money, lawyering up before we're ready. I pick at the cardboard sleeve of my cup, nails worrying the ridges. The coin sits against my thigh. A hot circle under denim. Feels familiar, I say. Someone else deciding what I can handle, what I'm allowed to know. His face tightens. I am not Vivian, he says. If you tell me you want out, I stop. Right now. I take this to Elena and tell her you're not participating in the Gala plan. She's still got probable cause. She'll still move. But you don't have to be on that stage. The offer stuns me into silence. He leans in, lowers his voice. The difference, he adds, is that I'm giving you a choice. She never does. The cafe is loud enough that we're just two more people murmuring over coffee. But the pressure between my ribs eases a fraction. Okay, I say finally. Then tell me what you can. He exhales. Speech draft is with Elena's office, he says. They're scrubbing it for anything that could be construed as defamatory instead of factual. Law enforcement has confirmed they'll have plainclothes officers at the event. The board chair has a sealed packet with preliminary findings. If he opens it before the gala, we have a backup plan. If he doesn't, he opens it when Elena signals him that the presentation has started. Chain of events, click, 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 like a combination lock. And me, I ask? You stand where you always stand, he says. Next to her, in the light. When the numbers come up on that screen, you're not the girl who didn't understand. You're the one who came forward. The coin burns hotter at that, my pulse in metal. When I get home that night, Vivian's voice floats down the hallway before I see her. The study door is mostly closed, just like last time. A bar of light cuts across the runner rug. I don't mean to listen, I mean to walk by. Then I hear my name. After the gala, she's saying, no one will even remember she exists. A pause. Ice clinks against glass. The faint slosh of liquid. She's been useful, Vivian goes on. Sad little heiress, people eat that up. But I'm done babysitting. We'll reposition the brand. New narrative. Sometimes you have to do a worthless inventory write-off to keep the books clean, you know? Worthless inventory write-off. The phrase drifts down the hall like a bad smell, sour and chemical. I go very still. You're cruel, the person on the other end says, laughing. Their voice is faint, but the amusement travels. Truthful, she corrects. She's soft, no spine. Once I'm fully recognized as the face of this thing, we don't need the tragic daughter figure muddying the picture. She's barely worth seat space as it is. I back away on quiet feet, heart pounding. My bathroom is at the end of the hall. I shut the door, flip on the light. The fan whirs to life, a soft mechanical hiss that almost covers the blood rush in my ears. I pull the coin from my pocket and press it flat against the mirror. The glass is cool under my knuckles. I exhale, long and slow, until the mirror fogs around the metal. A little circle of clear glass stays under the coin, like a tiny window. My reflection wavers in the mist. Eyes red at the rims, mouth set hard. I look like my father in the mornings when he'd check the ledger before coffee. Jaw tight, shoulders squared. She's soft, I whisper, mimicking Vivian's tone. No spine. The condensation beads, runs. I press the coin harder into the glass until my arm shakes. I'm not disappearing, I tell the fogged version of myself. Not this time. The fan hums. The light buzzes. My phone buzzes too, sliding a little on the edge of the sink. A message from Leo lights the screen. Elena just confirmed. All clear on their end. Tomorrow we stick to the plan. I close my fingers around the coin, feeling the imprint bite into my palm, and watch my reflection sharpen again as the fog slowly clears, knowing that the next time I see my face in bright light, it will be on a stage where no one is allowed to pretend I don't exist. The hotel valet stand glitters like an altar when we pull up. Glass doors, gold handles. The foundation's logo looping across a digital marquee above the entrance. For one weird second, it feels like my father is watching from up there, trapped in pixels and sponsorship slides. Shoulders back, Vivian says, already halfway out of the car. Smile like you haven't been crying in your bathroom for half an hour. My hand twitches toward my face before I stop it. The lobby hits me first. Air conditioning on full blast, marble polished to a mirror, and a spray of lilies in the middle so strong it almost covers the faint smell of carpet cleaner. Then we step into the ballroom, and it's like being punched in the nose by money. Perfume, champagne, candle wax. The faint electric hum of the AV rig in the corner, screens looping silent footage of kids reading in our program libraries. Sequins flicker as bodies move. Waiters in black glide between tables with trays held high, the glasses chiming softly against one another. Vivian inhales like she's stepping into her inheritance. Perfect, she sighs. They got the lighting right this year, thank God. She moves forward and the crowd rearranges itself around her like metal filings around a magnet. People I've known since I was a kid. Men who patted my head at board retreats. Women who pinched my cheeks at donor brunches. Turned toward her with outstretched hands and practiced compliments. Vivian, you look stunning. Another record-breaking year, I hear. You're single-handedly saving literacy in this city. She laughs, all teeth and polish. Oh, I have help, she says. She gestures vaguely in my direction without looking at me. We have our loyal volunteer keeping us afloat. Heads tilt, eyes flick my way. Of course, someone says. Mara, so good of you to pitch in. Pitch in. I feel the coin press against the fabric of my clutch, a small, round bruise. My name is on the founding paperwork, on the original Articles of Incorporation, in my father's handwriting. But tonight, I'm a helpful extra, part of the floral arrangement. It's a privilege, I say, because that's what she rehearsed with me. The people at her elbow nod and turn back to her. Who did your centerpieces? A woman asks. They're gorgeous. Aren't they? Vivian preens. I insisted on lilies. Hydrangeas look like something you'd buy at a warehouse store. The woman laughs too loudly. I slip to the side of the cluster, towards the bar, under the pretense of getting water. Leo is there. He's in a tux, tie straight, hair more carefully done than usual. He looks like the version of himself from his firm's website. Clean, professional, neutral. It throws me for a second. Then he sees me, and the mask cracks just enough for his eyes to soften. Hi, he says, leaning in to kiss my cheek. His lips are cool from the drink in his hand. You look like you own the place. Borrowed dress, I murmur. Rented confidence. He huffs a quiet laugh. Someone clears her throat beside him. This must be Mara, a woman says. I turn. Elena wears a dark green dress that reads severe corporate in this room. No sparkle, no plunging neckline. Her hair is down instead of pulled back, and she has on small diamond studs that catch the light just enough to pass. In her hand, a champagne flute she hasn't sipped from. Mara, this is Claire, Leo says, giving the name a tiny italic in his voice that only I'm close enough to hear. She's counsel for one of our major donors. She's been advising on some governance questions. Pleasure, Elena says, offering her hand. I've heard a lot about the foundation. Her grip is the same as in her office. Firm, exactly one shake. Good things, I hope, I say. A mix, she replies, eyes flicking once toward the stage, where the AV techs are doing a sound check. But tonight, we're going to focus on transparency. The microphone pops as someone taps it. The AV rig hums a little louder. On the far side of the room, I notice two men in suits that are a shade too plain for this crowd, lingering not far from the exit. No drinks, no name tags. One of them touches his ear for a fraction of a second. Plainclothes. My heart stutters. Leo follows my gaze and gives the smallest nod. They're just here to enjoy the rubber chicken, he murmurs. Ignore them. Vivian's laugh peels across the room like a bell and snaps me back. She's by the step and repeat banner now, posing with donors under the foundation logo. The photographer's flashes pop and sizzle. I excuse myself from Elena and Leo, promising I'll make the rounds. On my way across the room, a cluster of younger staffers stops me. Mara, you look amazing, one of them gushes, genuine. That dress. Wow. Vivian's, I say, on loan. Of course, another whispers. She's in a mood tonight. As if summoned, Vivian appears at my elbow. There you are, she says, slipping her hand through my arm like we're close. Her grip is a clamp. Stop gossiping and go check that the silent auction tablets are actually working. Last year's server crash was a disaster. She doesn't look at me when she says it. She looks at them. They scatter. We weave through tables while she surveys the room like a general inspecting troops. Those chairs are too close, she snaps at an event manager. People will feel cramped, and cramped people don't donate big. To a waiter, no more red wine on the left side. If someone spills near the cameras, it'll look like a crime scene. To the band. Upbeat when people come in, maudlin when we show the sad kid videos, then triumphant. Not the other way around. Do you have a set list? Send it to my assistant now. Every command is crisp, efficient, cruel around the edges. And you, a donor, asks me when we pause near his table. His wife smiles politely. What are you doing with yourself these days? Still finding your path? Vivian is ready before my mouth even opens. She's working on an almost finished degree, she trills. Between projects. The table chuckles. Freelance flake, she adds, sotto voce but not really, like it's a cute joke. We keep her busy so she doesn't wander off. The laugh lands like a slap I have to pretend I didn't feel. I taste metal. It takes me a beat to realize it's not blood. It's the memory of the coin between my teeth when I was a kid and wanted to feel its edge. I squeeze the clutch in my hand until the frame creaks. The ridged circle inside prints against my skin. Its outline, a secret, stubborn ache. Leo passes us once, on his way to confer with the MC. He doesn't stop, doesn't break character, but his fingers brush the manila folder tucked under his arm. A quick coded tap. 1, 2. Elena circles the perimeter, stopping to chat with a board member here, a donor there, her expression mildly interested. At one point, I see her stand in a particular spot and glance at the projection screens, checking sightlines. This is all choreography, run of show. Only half of it is on the printed program. When we're back near the front, Vivian drains her champagne and sets the empty flute on a passing tray. Top me up before the program, she tells the waiter. Full pour, I've earned it. Then she turns to me with a look that could peel paint. Do not wander off again, she says. I need you where people can see how far you've come. How far I've come, I repeat. From where you were, she says pointedly. Just try not to ruin this for me, okay? The MC takes the stage, voice booming. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please find your seats, our program will begin in 5 minutes. A murmur rolls across the room. Chairs scrape. Glasses clink. The band softens into something vaguely inspirational. Vivian's eyes glitter under the lights. She straightens my neckline, smooths an imaginary wrinkle, like she's arranging a prop. Remember the line we practiced, she says, about my work. Try not to overcomplicate it. The MC continues, words bouncing off crystal and marble. In just a moment, we'll hear a very special tribute to the visionary leader who has shepherded this foundation into a new era. Ms. Vivian Danner. Applause swells, heads swivel toward us. Vivian's smile sharpens. She hooks her arm through mine and pulls me toward the stage, her breath warm and sharp against my ear as she leans in, voice dropping to a private little knife. Try not to ruin this for me, she says again, sweeter this time. And I can feel the next thing she's going to say coiling on her tongue like a strike I've finally decided not to step away from. She leans in, diamonds catching the stage light, breath hot against my ear. You're worthless, she laughs, right as the applause hits. Loud enough for the nearest tables, but quiet enough that if I protest, I'm the one making a scene. The word slams into me so hard the room tilts. The applause swells, a rushing roar in my ears. My face goes hot, but the rest of me goes cold, hollowed out. It feels like I lift out of my body and lodge somewhere up near the chandeliers, looking down at a woman in a borrowed green dress whose stepmother has just taken a knife to her throat and called it a joke. From up there, I see it all too clearly. Vivian's hand still clamped on my elbow, nails biting through silk. Her pivot toward the crowd as she peels back from my ear, her mouth morphing from cruelty into a radiant smile in half a second. She waves with her free hand, the picture of benevolent leadership, letting the insult turn into another private punchline. The people closest to the stage chuckle, not because they heard what she said, but because she looks like someone who just made them laugh. My instinct is pure muscle memory. Yank away, slip behind the curtain, lock myself in a bathroom stall until the program is over and the servers are scraping plates, and someone texts me that it's safe to come out. My knees bend, ready to turn. Then I see Leo. He stands at the far side of the stage near the podium, half shadowed by the AV rig. The manila folder is tucked under his arm, a plain, ugly thing in a room full of satin. His face is not neutral. He looks furious. Not at me, at what she just did. Our eyes lock. His jaw works once, like he's swallowing something sharp. Then, almost casually, he taps the edge of the folder against the podium. 1, 2. The same rhythm he used in his apartment when he slid those printouts toward me for the first time. It's a metronome, a reminder. This is why we're here. I feel the coin under my thumb, trapped between my fist and the thin satin of my clutch. The metal is hot. The ridged edge cuts into my skin, sharp enough that I know I'll see an arc of red when I finally open my hand. Worthless. I think about the forged approvals with my name at the bottom, about Brightside and the other shells, about scholarships that never arrived, about Elena's office, the smell of stale coffee and paper, her voice saying victim like it belonged to me. I think about my father at the kitchen table, pressing this coin into my hand and telling me I would always know my own value. About Vivian on the phone in the study, calling me a worthless inventory write-off. The applause ebbs into scattered clapping, then polite silence, waiting for the next part of the show. From somewhere behind us, the MC's voice booms. "Let's give another round of applause for our incredible guest tonight," he says, rescuing the dead air. "If Ms. Danner and her daughter will please take their seats, we'll begin our formal program." Her daughter, her hand tightens. She tugs me toward the stairs like I'm an unwieldy prop she's done with. "Come on," she mutters under her breath. "Go sit, smile. Try not to pout, it gives you lines." My feet move, 1 step, 2, muscle memory again. Then something inside me refuses. The coin in my hand stops being comfort. It becomes a choice. I plant my heel. Her momentum yanks against my arm, but I don't move. The little hitch in her stride is tiny, but anyone watching closely will see it. A ripple goes through the front row. Chairs creak. Someone coughs. Vivian looks back at me, smile still plastered on for the crowd, eyes flashing a warning. "Don't be ridiculous," she hisses between her teeth. "What are you doing?" I don't pull away. I don't go with her either. I stand, right where I am. The light is hot on my face now, the stage wash flattening everything below into a blur. I can feel the attention sharpen, not full focus yet, but a prickle of curiosity. On my right, I see Elena at her donor table, champagne flute still untouched. Her expression doesn't change, but her posture does. She shifts a fraction forward, like someone about to see an experiment reach a critical point. Closer to the doors, one of the plainclothes officers straightens, eyes narrowing at the stage. His hand stays loose at his side, but his gaze flicks between Vivian, me, and Leo. "Mara," Vivian says softly, with a smile that doesn't touch her eyes, "you're making me look bad." I swallow. My tongue feels thick. For 20-something years, that sentence has been the worst sin I can commit. Now, weighing it against forged signatures and stolen funds and kids who didn't get tuition because she wanted another house, it feels small. "I'm fine here," I say. My voice shakes, but it exists. "I'd like to stay for the speech." Her eyes widen just enough to show white around the irises. "It's my speech," she reminds me, sotto voce. "Your little boyfriend is honoring me. You don't need to be on stage for that." The MC gestures more emphatically now, thinking we don't see him. "Ms. Danner," he calls, jovial, "your table awaits." I feel the room holding its breath. Every gala has a script, a flow. People don't realize it until someone steps off the marks. Right now, I'm stepping off. I wrap my fingers tighter around the coin. I can feel my pulse thudding against metal. "I'm staying," I repeat, louder this time. Not a shout, just a refusal to whisper. A couple in the front row exchange a look. Cameras shift lenses. The photographer who caught Vivian's entrance now lifts his camera again, sniffing drama like blood in the water. Vivian's smile goes rigid. "Stop this," she says, still waving at the crowd. "You're having a moment. Take it to the ladies' room like a grown woman." For a flicker of a second, the old reflex almost wins. Then I see Leo's face again, the fury there, the fear that I'll bolt, the hope that I won't. He steps up to the podium, testing the microphone with 2 fingers. It pops softly, the sound snapping through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, voice warm, "if you'll take your seats, we'll begin." The AV crew cues the first slide on the screen behind him. The foundation logo, my father's handwriting. In the dim light, the board chair reaches under his chair and pulls out a sealed manila envelope. I see it because I know to look for it now. He doesn't open it yet, but his thumb runs along the flap. Thinking. "Mara," Vivian's voice drops into something darker. "You are making a fool of yourself. Move." I look at her. Really look. At the flawless makeup. The diamonds paid for with donations. The woman who has called me useless and oversensitive and stupid in more ways than she has ever said my name without a sigh. I could move. I could step down and let her have the stage and the script and the story one more time. Or I could stand here, in my father's gala, under his name, next to the woman who hollowed it out, while the first real accounting of what she's done lights up behind us in front of people who matter. My hand loosens just enough that the coin shifts. Cold air hits the indent it left in my palm. I stay. I feel the discomfort crackle through the room like static, jumping from table to table as people realize something is off. It runs through the donors, the staff, the caterers, the AV kids. It lands on Vivian's shoulders like a physical weight, and then there's nowhere else for it to go but into Leo's first words, hanging in the silence we've just made. "Ladies and gentlemen," Leo says, and the silence we've made wraps itself around his voice like a wire. He smiles the way he does at client dinners, warm, harmless. "We're here tonight to celebrate something simple," he begins. "Vision, generosity, the belief that a single story, supported by many hands, can change the shape of a life." The crowd exhales, shoulders relax, glasses clink softly as people settle. Beside me, Vivian straightens, reclaiming the script. The tension around her mouth smooths. She turns her face toward the stage lights, catching them on her cheekbones, nodding at the word generosity as if he'd just described her reflection. I can feel my pulse in the coin, a steady thud against my palm. I don't unclench. Leo goes on. "Many of you have walked with this foundation for years," he says. "You've seen classrooms transform, libraries open, kids who started with borrowed paperbacks now graduating with honors." A murmur of pleased recognition moves through the tables. The big screens on either side of the stage flash slow images of smiling kids with backpacks, soft-focus libraries. We've used these images 100 times. They're the safe part of the story. Vivian tilts her head just enough to angle her better side toward the nearest camera. "And none of that would be possible," Leo continues, "without leadership. Without someone at the helm making the tough decisions, stewarding your generosity with care." The donors lean in. This is the part they understand, the hero speech. "Someone," he says, "with vision." He looks over at us, at her. The room follows his gaze. Vivian's hand slips from my arm so she can clap for herself without it looking like she's clapping for herself. She laughs, eyes glittering. "Ms. Vivian Danner has been called many things," Leo says. "Relentless, creative, tireless." She glows. "But tonight," he adds, and there it is, an undertone I recognize, "I want to talk about another word. A quieter one. Accountability." The shift is so subtle you'd miss it if you weren't listening for it. Some of the board members stiffen. A fork tings against a plate and stays there. Vivian's smile doesn't move, but her shoulders inch a fraction higher. "My day job," Leo says easily, "is not giving speeches. I work in financial crimes analysis." A small ripple, a few polite chuckles. Someone says, "Oh," under their breath. "That means," he goes on, "that I spend my time following numbers, checking whether the stories we tell about money match where it actually goes." He sets his note cards down on the podium. My grip on the coin tightens. The ridges bite in. "When I agreed to join the Gala committee this year," he says, "I did what my professional ethics require. I took a look under the hood. Standard due diligence. Nothing dramatic. Standard due diligence." The words float in the air like harmless jargon until they don't. "But," he says, and now the undertone is unmistakable, "what I found asked for more than a quiet note in a file." He reaches under his arm and picks up the manila folder. The movement is unhurried, precise. The room tilts with him. "I am required by my profession," he says, voice calm, "and by my obligations as a donor and supporter, to disclose to you that in the course of reviewing the Foundation's financial records, I and others identified a pattern of irregularities that could not be explained by timing or accounting quirks." A silence drops, heavy. In the AV booth, someone clicks a mouse. The logo on the big screen blinks out. In its place, a spreadsheet appears, larger than life. Columns, dates, vendor names, dollar amounts. Yellow highlights slicing across rows. Gasps ripple through the tables. Not everyone understands what they're seeing, but they understand that they were not supposed to see it here. I feel Vivian go very still next to me. Her smile stays on, but it becomes a mask. Leo lifts one of the printed pages from the folder, holds it lightly between his fingers. "These," he says, "are samples of wire transfers made in the last 3 years to vendor entities with no public footprint. No websites, no staff. Each one created shortly before receiving large payments from this foundation." He gestures toward the screen, and the slide advances. Brightside Consulting, New Path Strategies, Horizon Echo Group. Each name sits next to a transaction. Each address is the same strip mall, the same P.O. box, the same pattern. Identical invoice numbers repeat across months where no services are documented. They are, he says evenly, what we commonly call shell vendors. Whispers rise and fall like waves breaking and retreating. I watch the projections wash over the room, over the crystal, over the donors' faces, over the white tablecloths, and then up onto the reflective surface of the chandeliers. The light splits, spills back down, landing squarely on Vivian's face. The numbers march across her skin for a split second. She leans toward the podium, not enough for the room to notice, enough for me to hear. "What are you doing?" she whispers, teeth barely moving. I don't answer. The structure of these payments, Leo continues, and the lack of corresponding deliverables, raise serious concerns. Concerns we were not willing to leave as private speculation. He breathes once into the microphone. The sound is amplified, steady. In consultation with the state's charitable organizations and public trust unit, he says, these records have been forwarded for review. Tonight, I am speaking with their knowledge, and with the knowledge of certain members of the board. At the mention of the unit, Elena's fake name dissolves in my head. I look toward the AV booth. She stands just beside it, still in her dark green dress, half in shadow. As Leo says the name of her office, she shifts her blazer back a fraction to adjust something at her neckline. A badge on a chain flashes in the stage light and disappears again. Not an accident. Additionally, Leo says, and I can hear the care in each word now, we discovered that electronic authorizations for some of these transfers appeared under credentials belonging to someone who did not, in fact, approve them. The slide changes. My name appears on the screen, approved by Mara Danner. My own digital signature glows from the projector, bigger than my whole body. The air leaves my lungs. Another screenshot appears next to it. Same approval, same signature. Below it, in smaller font, device ID, IP address, suburb. Those of you familiar with internal controls know that digital signatures can be misused, Leo says. In this case, the access logs tell a different story from the one printed at the bottom of the page. He doesn't look at me, he looks at the room. These authorizations, he continues, originated not from this individual's work machine at the foundation offices, but from devices located at a private residence, where she has, on occasion, left her equipment at the request of others. There's a rustle as heads turn toward our table, toward us. I feel dozens of eyes hit my face like heat lamps. For the first time in my life, that attention doesn't come with the soft, pitying tilt of a head. What we see, Leo says, is not a careless employee. We see a pattern of someone using her credentials as cover. The word cover lands with more force than if I had said victim. Beside me, Vivian's hand finds my elbow again. It doesn't feel like support this time. It feels like a clamp on a lever she's trying to yank back. This is absurd, she snaps under her breath. You are embarrassing yourself. Microphones are directional. They don't catch it, but a camera does. I see its red tally light blink on in the corner. Leo lets the slide linger. The funds authorized under these misused credentials, he says, did not go to schools or libraries, or the children whose photos we so often display. Click. A new slide. Arrows now. From the foundation account to the shells. From the shells to a holding company. From there to an entity whose name carries Vivian's maiden name like a watermark. They landed, he says, in accounts controlled by entities tied, through public filings, to our organization's current executive director. The room erupts, not in shouting, not yet, but in a collective intake of breath. It sounds like a lungful of donors suddenly realizing they might be choking. I share this, Leo says, not to litigate guilt here tonight, but because your trust, the public's trust, is not an abstract thing. It lives in numbers, in statements, in records that can be examined and verified. He sets the paper down, palms flattening next to the microphone. Every slide you are seeing has been preserved in original form, he adds. Every transfer shown has been independently confirmed with the relevant financial institutions. Every log line has been reviewed by state investigators who are present in this room. On that last sentence, he glances once toward the AV booth. Elena feels it like a cue. She takes one step forward, just one. The movement makes the chain at her neck swing slightly, badge flashing into full view for a heartbeat, before her blazer falls back into place. Then she meets my eyes across the crowded, suddenly too bright room. She nods once. The nod is tiny, but in my bones, it lands like a gavel tapping wood. On stage, the silence goes brittle. The MC edges closer to Leo, panic pasted over his professional smile. Thank you, Leo, that's... He starts, reaching for the mic like he can drag the night back to its script. Leo doesn't hand it over. Before we move on, he says, voice still calm, there's one more person you need to hear from. He steps back from the podium, leaving the microphone where it is. Elena is already moving. She walks down the side aisle, past stunned donors and half-eaten salads, her green dress catching just enough light to mark her path. When she reaches the edge of the stage, one of the plainclothes officers offers her a hand up. She takes it, climbs onto the platform, and crosses to the podium with the unhurried confidence of someone who belongs behind microphones. The MC looks like he might faint. "Ma'am, this is highly irregular. We really should," he stammers, reaching toward the control panel. Someone in the AV booth kills his channel. His voice cuts off mid-syllable, like a cable got snipped. The mic in front of Elena stays live. "Good evening," she says. Her voice fills the ballroom, clear and level. "My name is Elena Torres. I am an investigator with the Charitable Organizations and Public Trust Unit of the Attorney General's office." The words slam into the room like a door closing. Chairs creak, glassware rattles. Somewhere near the back, a phone chimes and then is silenced in a frantic fumble. Elena doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. "This foundation," she continues, "is currently under active investigation for possible embezzlement and fraud." Beside me, Vivian shoots to her feet so fast her chair tips back and has to be caught by a waiter. "That is outrageous," she snaps. "I have heard nothing about any such investigation." "That's not accurate," Elena says mildly. "You were notified of preliminary inquiries 3 months ago, Ms. Danner. You declined to provide requested documentation." She gestures to the screens. "Tonight, you've all seen a small sample of what our office has been reviewing." The slide changes again, not just numbers now. Email snippets, subject lines. Consultant invoices, need to clean this up. Make the numbers disappear before the board meeting. The familiar layout of Vivian's email client. Her signature block at the bottom. Warmly, Vivian. "I never wrote that," Vivian says, but the words wobble. "You can fake emails. Anyone can fake emails." Another slide. This one is a screenshot of a video call window. No audio, just her face mid-sentence, brows drawn, lips forming the word disappear. A timestamp sits in the corner. The call ID matches the emails. "We obtained these from a cooperating witness," Elena says. "A staff member who recorded certain instructions out of concern for their legality." The donors are whispering now. Some are leaning back in their chairs, away from the center table like it might catch fire. Vivian turns in a slow circle, desperate for an ally. "You are all seeing a political hit job," she declares. "This is a witch hunt. Bureaucrats who hate successful women. They twist anything they can't control." Her voice climbs. "These so-called investigators are punishing us for being effective, for helping children. You all know me. You've seen my work. Are you going to let some clipboard with a badge tell you who I am?" There's a beat where the room could still swing her way. Then the projector betrays her again. Another slide. A bank statement image with her name, bold at the top. Deposits labeled as consulting income in amounts that match the outgoing wires. A date stamps itself at the corner of the screen, 2 days after a fundraiser last year where she cried on stage about stretching every dollar. The sound that moves through the ballroom now isn't a gasp. It's smaller, meaner. It's disbelief curdling into anger. My heart is hammering so hard I can hear it in my ears. The coin in my fist feels like it's vibrating. Elena glances my way, then back at the crowd. "As you've heard," she says, "many of the authorizations for these transfers appeared under the credentials of Miss Danner's stepdaughter, Mara, without her knowledge or consent." That word again, stepdaughter. "She came to our office voluntarily," Elena continues. "She provided documentation, including evidence of forged approvals, and has been cooperating fully with this inquiry." The mic on the podium feels suddenly very close, very loud. Elena turns to me. "Ms. Danner," she says, "would you like to say anything?" The microphone stand is only a few steps away, but my legs feel like they're moving through wet concrete. Vivian grabs my wrist. "You will not," she hisses. "You think this will save you? You are in this with me. Your name is on everything." Her nails dig into my skin. For a second, the old fear surges. Then I feel the coin. Solid, warm, my father's fingerprint worn into the brass. I pry my wrist free. The walk to the podium is only 6 steps. They feel like crossing a country. I take the mic. It's heavier than the coin, heavier than anything I've ever held in public. The feedback squeals for half a second, then settles. Everyone is looking at me. Not past me. Not through me. At me. "I never signed those authorizations," I say. My voice shakes on the first syllable, steadies on the second. Not once. Somewhere in the room, a camera shutter clicks. A tiny metallic insect sound. Then another. I didn't approve those vendors, I go on. I didn't know those shell companies existed until Leo showed me the transfers. When I realized my name was being used to move money away from the kids this foundation is supposed to serve. I went to the Attorney General's office. The coin digs into my palm. It keeps me from floating away. I didn't do that because I hate my family, I say. I did it because those kids deserved better than someone treating their future like a personal ATM. Silence, then a few nods. At the back, one of the staffers, who has always avoided my eye, is staring at me like they've never seen me before. Vivian laughs. It's a brittle, too high sound. Listen to her, she says. Poor little victim. She was happy enough to swan around in evening gowns while I did the hard work of running this place. Now she's throwing me under the bus because some boyfriend and a bored prosecutor told her a sob story about public trust. Elena steps forward, easing me back from the mic with a light touch on my elbow. No one is asking you to decide guilt or innocence tonight, Elena tells the room. That will be determined by a full investigation, which is already underway. But certain immediate steps are required to protect donor funds and the people this organization serves. She nods once to the officers near the walls. The hotel's security staff, who have been hugging the perimeter all night, suddenly look less like waiters in suits and more like what they are, trained to move people. They drift toward the exits, locking them in subtle, human ways. No chains, just bodies, presence. From near the bar, a uniformed officer steps into full view for the first time. His badge catches the light. His radio hisses softly at his shoulder, then quiets. He walks down the central aisle, not rushing, not dragging it out. When he reaches the stage, he mounts the steps with that particular careful tread people use when all eyes are on them. Ms. Danner, Elena says, turning to Vivian, based on the preliminary evidence and the risk of further dissipation of assets, you are being detained for questioning as part of this investigation. Vivian recoils like Elena slapped her. You can't do this, she says, backing away. Not here, not in front of... These people are my friends. A bitter laugh comes from somewhere near the donors' tables. It cuts through the desperation in her voice. The officer reaches her side. He doesn't grab her. He places a hand on her forearm. Gentle but firm. Ma'am, he says quietly, microphone not picking up his words but the front rows hearing them anyway. I'm going to ask you to come with me. She jerks her arm. I am the face of this foundation, she spits. Do you have any idea who I am? On the screen behind her, her own email stares down. Make the numbers disappear. She sees it. For the first time, I think she really sees it. Her shoulders sag a fraction. Phones are out now, tiny red lights blinking as people record. The official camera near the AV booth pans, catching everything in a smooth, dispassionate arc. As the officer guides her toward the stairs, the board chair stands up at his table. He's the one who called me the founder's shy kid when I first sat in on a meeting. Tonight his face is pale, pinched, but his voice when it comes carries. On behalf of the board, he says, effective immediately, Ms. Vivian Danner is suspended from all duties related to the foundation, pending the outcome of this investigation. Murmurs swell, crest, break. He swallows, glances at me, then back at the room. We will be commissioning an independent forensic audit, he adds, voice shaking but clear. Full cooperation with the Attorney General's office will be our priority. Our donors and the communities we serve deserve nothing less. Vivian twists to look at him as the officer leads her off the stage. You spineless little man, she spits. You owe me your position. All of you do. Don't you dare... Her words dissolve under the rising noise, under the clicking lenses, under the low, steady hiss of the officer's radio as the door to the service corridor opens to swallow her up. For the first time since I can remember, no one rushes to smooth things over for her. They're too busy watching the story change shape right in front of them. I stand on the stage, coin burning a circle into my palm, feeling the eyes, the cameras, the weight of what we've just done. And somewhere under the shock and the adrenaline, something fragile and fierce uncurls in my chest as I realize that whatever comes next, she no longer controls the narrative of this room. Weeks later, she still doesn't. I'm on my couch with a throw blanket twisted around my legs, laptop balanced on my knees, when the clip plays for the 1,000th time. The news anchor's voice is slick and practiced. At an upscale charity gala last month, he says, guests got more transparency than they bargained for. The footage rolls. Elena's badge flashes. Vivian's face contorts. The officer's hand appears at her elbow. The chyron across the bottom reads, "Whistleblower stepdaughter exposes foundation fraud." My name sits under my photo, spelled right. No qualifier like troubled or shy in front of it. The coin rests between my fingers on the laptop edge. I roll it back and forth along the aluminum, hearing the tiny tick each time it crosses a screw. I still flinch when they slow the clip down to capture my face as I say, "I went to the Attorney General's office. I still don't quite recognize that woman." Commentators talk over my image in split screen. Donor trust, governance failures, the courage it takes to speak up from inside a powerful family. Courage? I used to think courage meant never shaking. Now I know it can mean shaking the entire time and speaking anyway. At the grocery store, it finds me in smaller ways. A woman near the cereal aisle glances at me, then at the screen on her phone. "Excuse me," she says, shy. "Are you?" She turns the phone. It's the Gala clip on a social feed, paused on my profile. "Yes," I say, "that's me." Her eyes soften. "My sister's dealing with something similar," she murmurs. "Different details, same power imbalance. She's scared no one will believe her. When I saw you on TV, I sent it to her and said, 'Look, it's not just us.'" The coin presses into my thigh through my jeans. "Tell her I believe her," I say. In court, things are less soft. The courtroom smells like varnish and paper and tired air from the vents. I sit on a wooden bench that creaks every time I shift, the coin resting between my fingers like a worry stone. Vivian sits at the defense table in a blazer that tries too hard not to be designer. No diamonds, no lilies. Her hair is still perfect. Her eyes are flat. On the other side, the state's attorney lays out counts in an even voice. Embezzlement, wire fraud, filing false charitable reports, misuse of donor funds. Her lawyer argues about intent, about complex financial instruments, and reasonable reliance on staff. Elena sits behind the prosecution, a folder on her lap, posture straight. When they talk about the forged approvals, the IT logs, the GPS data that puts my laptop in her house at specific times, the coin grows slick in my grip. I press harder until it anchors me again. I'm called as a witness once, for a preliminary hearing. My voice shakes less than it did at the gala. I tell the judge what I told the room that night, but slower, under oath. When it's over, as we're filing out, Vivian looks back at me. "You're enjoying this," she says. "I'm not, but I am enduring it, and that's new." The board meets in a conference room that used to feel like forbidden territory. Now I walk in through the same glass doors as everyone else. My nameplate waits at one of the seats, printed in the same font and size as the others. No guest sticker. No folding chair at the back. "Mara," the board chair says, clearing his throat, "we owe you more than an apology." He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. "We'd like to invite you to join the board as a full voting member," he says. "Your perspective, your persistence, have made it clear we need voices like yours guiding this foundation." I feel the old instinct to deflect, to say I'm not qualified. Then I remember Elena's legal pad, Leo's checklist, the nights of tracing vendor chains with highlighters until my eyes burned. "I'll do it," I say. "On conditions?" The room rustles. "Conditions?" someone repeats, a little offended. "Transparent reporting," I say. "Quarterly financials posted publicly. An independent forensic audit firm on retainer. Not someone's golfing buddy. A whistleblower policy with an actual hotline. Not a suggestion box." I tap the pad of the coin against the underside of the table, steadying myself on the soft metallic tick. And I add, a scholarship fund named after the kids who almost lost their shot because someone decided they were expendable. Not after Vivian, not after me. After them. Silence. Then slowly, heads nod, pens move, motions are made, seconds follow. The vote passes. Leo finds me later in a small, half-empty office the auditors are using as a war room. The space smells like cardboard, dry erase marker, and the faint sweetness of someone's forgotten orange. Piles of old files sit in boxes, each with neon labels, to scan, to shred, to review. I'm at the desk, sorting through a stack of dusty binders, the coin sitting near my right hand as a paperweight. "Hey," he says softly. I look up. He steps in, closes the door behind him. The click of the latch sounds louder than it is. The room is suddenly very quiet. "I was going to do this somewhere romantic," he says, mouth twisting. "Rooftop, candles, some cliché like that." He walks over to the desk instead. But then I thought, This is where it started, he says. Spreadsheets, suspicious vendor names. You, deciding you weren't crazy. He reaches into his pocket and takes out a small ring box, but he doesn't open it. He sets it down on the desk. Then he picks up the coin, feels its weight for a second, and lays it next to the box so they touch. Metal and metal, old and new. When I met you, he says, you thought your worth was whatever Vivian said it was on a given day. He looks me straight in the eye. That was never true, he says. She didn't get to set it. She definitely didn't get to steal it. I see who you are now. I think you see it too. So I'm asking, will you marry me and let me spend the rest of my life reminding you on the days you forget? My throat tightens. I look at the coin, at the ring, at my own hand, hovering over both. For the first time, the idea of attaching myself to someone doesn't feel like handing over the calculator that decides my value. Yes, I say. The word lands solid. He exhales, laughs, opens the box, slides the ring onto my finger. The band settles against my skin, cool, then warm, next to the indent the coin has left 1,000 times. Weeks later again, I'm back on a stage. Smaller this time. A community center gym that smells like floor polish and popcorn. Folding chairs lined up in crooked rows. The backdrop is a vinyl banner with the foundation's logo, stripped down, simpler now. My father's handwriting given room to breathe. Families fill the seats. Kids fidget. A local reporter stands near the back with a camera, her intern holding a mic flag with the station's logo. We're announcing the first round of grants from the new scholarship fund. No black tie dress code, no lilies, just a row of envelopes and a stack of bound, transparent reports on a table by the door for anyone who wants one. I step up to the portable podium. The mic wobbles once. A volunteer tightens it with a twist that squeaks. Cameras flash, but the light feels different here. Warmer, less like judgment, more like documentation. In my palm, the coin sits cool and calm. I slip it into my pocket, not to armor myself, but to remind myself how far I've walked on my own 2 feet. I look out at the faces, parents, kids, staff, donors who stayed, and feel something settle inside me that has nothing to do with Vivian, or the board, or the headlines. No one in this room gets to decide my worth from the stage tonight. For the first time, I know it, and I'm the one holding the ledger.